I'm Geoff Nemnich.
And I'm Rick Paillet.
And we're the hosts of The Last Stand. Coyote hunting is my passion.
And coyote calls are my livelihood.
And together we aim to bring you the best predator hunting tips, tricks, and tactics, right down to The Last Stand.
The Last Stand, presented by Lucky Duck Predator Calls. We are the masters of deception. Daniel Defense, manufacturing freedom. Swagger Bipods, shoot with confidence, shoot with swagger. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable.
On this episode of The Last Stand, we're in north central Kansas, down on some of Rick's old stomping grounds.
Well, the first afternoon I had everybody try to roll in here early so maybe we could get a head start on the deal. And the camera guys got here and Jeff was about a half hour late, so we thought we'd sneak one in without him. The sun's going down and we are staring right into it, and not sure what sound I was playing. I think it was probably a shoulder belt or cotton ball, but quick like, here comes this coyote coming right down the fence line, and he picks one of us out. And the way the hill rolled off, he couldn't see us very well. So over the years I've seen a few, I call it flailing, but after looking at the footage, he wasn't just flailing, he was standing up, looked like a giant prairie dog, standing on his back legs, trying to figure out what was going on up there on the hill without him having to come up there. So he thought about it and started swinging downwind. The wind was right to left. Well, that was cool to watch that coyote flailing like that, trying to figure out what was going on up here. And what he ended up doing was the wind was from right to left, so that's what they do. If they can't figure it out, or they don't believe it's a rabbit, or they just ain't buying it, they'll swing around downwind. And I had a few opportunities to get him to stop, and he stopped, but it was skylined, and around here we don't shoot across top of a skyline. There's houses all over, and that's a no-no. If we didn't get him, we didn't get a coyote there, trained him, educated him, whatever you want to call it. But to me, the footage is what I'm really interested in, and that you just don't see what he did hardly ever, so it was really interesting. Jeff finally rolls in. He's texting, calling all of us by the time we get back to the truck after that quick stand.
Don't worry, guys. The killer's here.
Get going, let's go.
So I made about a 7-hour drive that day from Nebraska to Kansas. I got here just in time to get in on the last two stands of the day. The last stand in particular, we slipped in behind a feedlot that Luke had, and back behind that feedlot was a big hill, pretty thick, gnarly stuff. We didn't want to get right in there because the sun was setting fast. We were losing visibility. We knew if we were going to have a chance to kill a coyote, we had to kind of sit where we had openness, where we could see. So we set up in a tree line, had a alfalfa field off to our right. We figured if the coyote comes down out of that thicker cover, he's got to come across that alfalfa field, which would give us a shot.
So we got into our last stand. The sun, the light's fading really fast on us. Sometimes when I get to a setup like that, you gotta play a sound, knowing that you only maybe have 8 to 10 minutes of shooting light left. I usually go to a pretty aggressive sound right off the bat. We have a coyote howling out here, maybe 500-600 yards at us, just up over this hill into this pasture. Rick's howling at it right now, but hopefully he'll switch to some pup distress or some fighting or something. To hopefully get a fast, aggressive response out of this coyote to get him here before we run out of light.
I do a female howl and then a male howl, and played some rabbit, and I was trying to rush the rabbit because I wanted to play some pup fights. And finally, as it was basically dark, not quite, but here he comes tearing into that alfalfa, and man, he was like a black ghost screaming across there. And I was like, oh man, I'm gonna let he's just going by the call. I situated my gun, was on him and gonna bark at him, and I went, "Rrr," and I was taking the slack out of the trigger, and bam! I was like, that son of a gun.
I owed Rick one from Wyoming. He shot one out in front of me, so I owed him. Good spot, Luke.
We made 3 stands, an hour and a half before it got dark, called in a couple different coyotes, got that one flailing that was cool, and then we got one here on the last stand.
Big old coyote, man. Big male coyote. Yeah. Smells like a dang skunk.
Woo! You're a skunk.
Here, good thing you shot it, Rick.
No,
You're gonna have to drag that back to the truck for me.
You snooker balled that one out of me like I did you a couple weeks ago.
I thought it was a long drive to this.
I thought maybe I screwed up because I was like, I think I just turned that pup on, didn't I? And he was already coming.
Yeah, he was already out of. We thought we'd see him come over the skyline, but we didn't. But big male coyote. I'm guessing it was the one howling at us.
I would think, yeah.
Yeah, he's a heavy one. He's probably at least 35 pounds.
Oh man, that is a stud horse.
Yeah. And I drove 7 hours and got out of the truck, and 30 minutes later,
Yep.
I'm getting to shoot coyotes.
All right. He's getting to snooker me.
I'll give you first shot in the morning. You got your drag?
I don't think so.
Can I borrow your drag, please?
Dirty dog. All right.
So our first full day in Kansas, we meet up with another one of Rick's farmer buddies, Mike. The cool part about hunting like this is there's never a shortage of people on stand that we drag around. You know, between Rick and myself, our 2 cameramen, we're always trying to bring somebody else and getting them involved. So we head out first couple stands of the morning. Hopes are high. The weather's supposed to be great. Light wind, mid 50s. We get on the second stand of the morning. Rick's covering kind of the more open side. I'm on the back side of the tree, covering kind of the thicker cover in case we get a coyote coming from there.
Waiting for Rick to get the call fired up here. Just another typical Eastern Kansas stand. We got a bunch of broke ground with some plowed fields. Got a little chunk of pasture. We got all kinds of veins of creek bottoms running all around us here. We left Mike clear on the downwind side. There's just a little bit of a rise here where we can't see the downwind, so Mike's gonna be sitting over there just in case something circles downwind. I'm covering this bottom side here. Rick's just on the other side of the tree behind me. He's covering straight back to the south in case a coyote comes along that ditch bank.
I'm playing shoulder belt. Here comes, I see 3 coyotes, 2 in the waterway, 1 in the bean stubble. The 2 in the waterway checked up way down there, and the 1 in the stubble kept coming a little ways and picked me out sitting in that grass. Picked us out. Took off, went back. I quick turned some pup fight on. It come back up there and had a look, run off, and I don't know if I don't know if it was the same one, but there was a lot of action going on down there. I already got it on, they're all leaving. 3 gone, 1 came back for a peek. All right, you on that? You on him? Oh, wait a minute. One of them is thinking about coming. That none of them had come up, and I switched to a different pup fight, and 1 come up there, and I decided to take a crack at it. And see that one standing there again? He's barking. You see him? You see him? and I drilled him. They picked us out over here.
He switched up the pup again, and one of the second coyotes actually came out, but I didn't actually see it, but I think right when he went to squeeze the trigger, that coyote was turning to leave. But nonetheless, Rick made a great 300-yard shot, and we had the first coyote of the morning.
Well, I took a little bit of a Hail Mary poke on that deal. What happened, we got the sun coming up. We're not looking into it, but we got 5 of us. We're filming the last stand and had 3 coyotes, 2 coming up this waterway, but they picked Max and I out. We're just sitting in some grass up here, and I don't know, the suckers are smart, man. I'm telling you, a coyote don't miss much. And the one coming up this stubble here picked me and Max out, so then they run off, and then they started burger barking us. But what I did was I turned on a fight, and that made them, they run off and left, but that fight brought them back. And then I tried another fight, and then they started burger barking us, and then I took a Hail Mary and got one poked.
So we're rolling right along. Rick's picking out stands. He put together a plan that day of kind of how he wanted to hit these stands to kind of make us efficient, because like I said, you know, in this country, everything's chopped up, and we're making stand here. We may have to drive 2 or 3 miles and pull in and make a stand there. We may drive 4 or 5 miles over here and make a stand. So Rick put together a plan, and we pull into the stand, and he said, this is gonna be a pretty quick one. If a coyote's here, they're gonna be right down in this brush. And then right after that, Rick said, we're gonna hold tight. He's like, I got a little something in store for you boys.
It's not the best producer for the coyotes, but when I'm done with the stand, I always turn some coon distress on. I've been going there for 25 years, and every time there's coons.
We're sitting in a bunch of old big cottonwood trees. We're all piled in a big brush pile, big dead trees all around us. And Rick fires up the old coon fight on the revolt, and it's not just 30 seconds. And we pick out a few coons kind of messing around, coming out of the hole in the tree off to the right about 75 yards. And then all of a sudden we start hearing growling coming from behind us.
You can hear in the brush pile a coon growling. They were climbing out of the trees to the left, to the right. I mean, they were thick in there. I told everybody, hold tight on me, don't nobody move. Don't nobody move.
And the coons are, you know, false charging him almost. And Rick still has the call just blaring the coon fight. And pretty soon, one runs right around, dang near jumped over the foot of Mike and ran right past the call. Rick called it a morale booster mid-morning, but it was pretty exciting to have any kind of wildlife that close to you.
So kind of midday there, it was in the 60s, and I'd like to do my best spots in the morning and my best spots in the afternoons, evenings. It had gotten slow, so there's a place that just a little patch of trees, and I thought maybe it'd kill 20 minutes to go there, and I think I played shoulder belt for a little bit, and then some pup distress, and I seen a coyote. I'm pretty sure it came out of the corn that was standing up there right in the corner of that timber. And I put the scope down there, and about as fast, I don't know, he seen something he didn't like, and he turned and started going, and I got a range on him and sent a Hornady 53 grain VMAX and heart shot that sucker.
And got a bullet put in him, and the coyote only went about 10 yards and rolled up in the grass.
Come for a little peek, you know, they do that every now and then.
Well, a setup like that, that's all you're hoping for.
Yeah, yep.
I wasn't really thinking one midday is gonna run, just get him here to the edge and get a shot at him. Yeah, man, you shoot a good bullet like those 53 grain VMAXs, and you'll find a lot of the coyotes. You know, you don't have to shoot a huge gun to get them killed, you know?
Nope, I like it.
All right, nice shooting.
Yep.
Happened quick.
Yes, sir. Bing, bang, boom.
So that day when we were hunting with Mike, we were making some of the same stands we made last year when we hunted with him for a day. We had a great day last year. We killed 7 coyotes with him. So we're making some of those same stands. So one stand that really stuck out in our mind last year was we were able to kill a double, and it was Mike's, I think, first called-in coyote. So we got into that stand. While we were driving into the stand, we actually spotted a coyote out in the middle of the wide open, cut bean field. So we just stopped and we let that coyote kind of work his way back. We knew there was only one piece of cover in that whole section, and he was probably going to head that way. So we just sat tight. We let him work his way down into there, and then we pulled into the tree line, and we were able to walk up and sit right on the end of this tree line, just like we did last year.
We kind of took our time and set up, and we're hoping he'll forget that we were up here on the hill. Every now and then that'll work, so I'm gonna do all vocals here and try to tee him off, see what happens.
But just a few minutes into the stand, I spot the coyote, and there was a little swell out there in the hill. So out of the norm, I was kind of high up on my knees. I had my Swagger bipods extended as high as the 42 inches would get me, so I could get a little bit of vantage point, which obviously you lose a little stability when you do that, but I gained some visibility. But the coyote starts going straight for the wind, and that's where I think it was the same coyote that we had spooked, because he was a little frazzled, a little bit. A coyote that was undisturbed probably would have came straight to the call, but this coyote wanted to investigate, but he started circling downwind, and he gets right to the edge, and I don't know if he caught a little whiff of us or what, but he spins around, and it looked like he was getting ready to run, but he stopped for just a split second, and I squeezed one off. It wasn't the best shot. I caught him a little far back. He took off running. I got one more running shot off at him before he kind of got off on the hill. But nonetheless, when you shoot a good bullet, like those Hornady 53 grain VMAXs, it causes a lot of damage. A big heavy wound channel in there, destroys lots of tissue. The internal bleeding is what you want. And that's exactly what happened. This coyote made it about 75, 80 yards down into the bottom, and it was a pretty short tracking job, and he was laid up down in there dead. So middle of the afternoon, Rick has a spot picked out, and he hadn't been down in there that year, so he didn't know quite what the crop situation was down in there, what the cover situation was. But we get in there and we start evaluating, and it's a big winter wheat field. Luckily for us, they had ripped out a bunch of trees, and they had made 2 big brush piles out in the middle of this huge winter wheat field. The first one we used to hide the vehicle. The second one, we walked about 600 yards down in there to set up, and that got us within about 200 to 300 yards of this big creek bottom, this big drainage where we thought the coyotes were going to come from. And a lot of times that's all you need, is just some place to get the vehicle hid and some place to break up your silhouette and your outline. And
playing shoulder belt again, and we're quite a ways away from the trees, so I had the call cranked up, and all of a sudden I see a head and a pair of ears on the skyline. Don't move, nobody move. He was about there on the last terrace, and he stopped. Almost looked like, he was telling everybody, I own this place. And then he looked at the call over the revolt, and there he come down there and swung around. And easy, let him come. We got him rolled up. Geoff got him rolled up. He's the man rolling him up running, I'm telling you. I like to think I used to have that game, but middle of the day, we're just kind of trying this stuff where we normally don't go, because we don't want to burn up our sippy holes the last 2 hours before dark. And I wanted to stay clear up there, and Geoff was right. We got down here a little closer. I played shoulder belt, and we're trying to get some really cool footage of coyotes coming to the call. And that worked out, and I was about ready to shoot him, but I thought, oh, he's gonna get closer, and then boom, he smelled where Geoff walked out there, and I don't know, but it turned out pretty good. What do you think, Geoff?
Yeah, I mean, we're setting up, the wind's going from left to right, so our scent trail's going here. You know, there's what I call that imaginary scent trail out there. There's not really a constant scent trail like coming off us, but when that coyote got within about 10 yards, he smelled it, and it's a classic scenario of us filming. We just get,
Yeah.
if we were to just normal hunt,
yeah.
we'd have killed that coyote 8
Yep.
times right there, and then we're like, oh, when he starts turning and coming to the call, we're like, oh my
yeah.
God, he's gonna come right there, and then it just took
When
one
he-
split
when-
second.
When he got over here where he could really see the decoy spinning and everything, he was fully committed to that thing. So that was, I thought it was awesome, and it's even more awesome you rolled him up before he got out of here. So
Oh man, it's always fun to watch him. You know, middle part of the day, we're calling thick cover, but we got openness. You know, and the coyotes don't always like to come across that open ground. You saw how nervous that sucker was
yeah.
up there. You know, looking around, and oh my God,
he was looking for a reason to get out.
Yeah, and we gave him just enough reason to stay. And
I also, one other thing, people ask a lot, but I think I turned the call way down too when he showed up there, and just hang in there and hold tight. That was
we could have,
awesome.
you know, when he first poked his head up there, some guys might have been like, oh my God, he saw us,
yeah.
and then tried a shot. If
Yeah.
you just sit still,
Yep.
don't move. A lot of times in their mind, they'll think, okay, maybe that was nothing, and that's exactly what that coyote did.
Yep.
But-
Yeah, most guys would have tried a Hail Mary right there. And if you just hang in there, hold tight. He hadn't figured us out. He hadn't smelled us, and he hadn't
No.
seen us, so
We
he
were
ain't
tucked
gonna
in
leave.
good. These kind of setups are nice. The bull setup where the coyote's looking down on us, you don't ever have to worry about them skylining you. We're tucked into all this dead, piled up trees behind us. I mean, he even got to right here 40, 50 yards across there, and he didn't even know we were here. 5 of us sitting here.
No, he didn't have a clue. That was awesome. Man, you cartwheeled that sucker.
You know, all in all, it was a great day, a great way to end, the first full day of hunting in Kansas.